If you've ever been to the doctor for a checkup, or scrolled any news-containing app, you've probably heard of HDL cholesterol.
Of course.
And you've probably heard that it's a good thing. But I'd bet a pretty penny you have no clue why. Which, to be honest, with the exception of a few high-level reasons, is where I landed too. Exactly why, when I saw this new data implicating it in protecting against macular degeneration, aka eyesight loss, I felt the need to roll up the sleeves and investigate what was really going on. Here's the secrets they don't tell you at the doctor's office. Let's go. Yo. What is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftingbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Now, as always, a good place to start is with a little baseline. And as it pertains to HDL, that is the fact that it is not a cholesterol, which is a common misconception. In reality, it is a protein which carries lipids and cholesterol throughout the body, because cholesterol itself cannot roam freely throughout the bloodstream. And in this case, and most cases as it pertains to cholesterol, this Sherpa carrying it around is a lipoprotein, with the H and the D standing for high density, describing its small and dense form factor, unlike its low density compadre, LDL, which are bigger, less dense, and more likely to make their way under blood vessel walls and cause trouble. But that's a topic we talk about in this video here. Now, one of the biggest claims to beneficial fame you may not know about HDL is its role in reverse cholesterol transport, essentially acting as a scavenger or garbage truck that travels throughout the bloodstream, picks up excess cholesterol from cells, particularly from the foam cells or macrophages laden with cholesterol within arterial walls where plaque buildup occurs, and transports it back to the liver where it can be directly excreted into bile or reprocessed for other uses, ultimately preventing the progression of atherosclerotic plaques, which are a main underlying cause of things like heart attacks and stroke. Pretty important stuff, I know. But that surprisingly is just the table stakes. The more interesting features of this transport protein, ones which I personally was unaware of, are its extensive anti-inflammatory powers. And if you recall anything from basically any other deep dive that we've done on this channel, which are in the hundreds at this point, chronic inflammation is at the root of basically every disease state and suboptimal condition we modern humans face. So this feature set of HDL is something that we should all care about. And since I know you're dying to find out, here is how it exerts its anti-inflammatory powers. First, it has shown an uncanny ability to inhibit the expression of adhesion molecules on endothelial blood vessel cells. These are the normally sticky pad-like molecules which attract inflammatory cells like monocytes to the arterial wall and essentially set the stage for atherosclerosis or plaque buildup. So that right there is a pretty damn good start. It also has been displayed to reduce the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines, further dampening the inflammatory response in arteries. And as you know, to have plaque formation, you need an inflammatory response. Cholesterol alone going under the arterial walls is not sufficient. And finally, HDL has been observed to carry various proteins and lipids with anti-inflammatory prowess. Two prominent ones being para-oxidase 1, an enzyme that can break down oxidized lipids and prevent LDL oxidation, which I'd say is pretty helpful, and sphingosine 1-phosphate, also known as S1P, a potent bioactive lipid signaling molecule with a wide range of physiological effects, particularly in the vasculature, which we need to spend a little time on because this is where things get really interesting. First, it helps maintain the tightness and integrity of endothelial cells lining the blood vessel walls. preventing leakage and reducing inflammation. Then, as alluded to, it has more direct anti-inflammatory effects as well, inhibiting pro-inflammatory pathways in endothelial cells and macrophages, helping reduce that inflammatory component of atherosclerosis. And while doing this, it also stimulates one of the most important compounds for vascular dilation, nitric oxide, which is critical for reducing blood pressure and boosting endothelial function. And finally, it plays a key role in cellular proliferation, migration, and survival, supporting vascular repair and overall tissue health. Talk about a hole-in-one.
Talk about a hole-in-one.
No. Happy Gilmore fans. Tough crowd. Moving on. Now, here's the kicker. The piece of the puzzle which makes all of this possible is a protein which resides on 90 to 95% of all HDL lipoproteins called ApoM. And this protein signature is important because it acts as the main carrier protein in which these beneficial bioactive molecules like S1P bind to, thus facilitating them to be carried throughout the body. A partnership which allows HDL to exert its crucial anti-atherogenic, anti-inflammatory, vascular protective effects, going way beyond a simple role in just cholesterol transport. Something that the study mentioned all the way back in the intro was a great example of. Here, researchers out of Washington University explored if raising ApoM in mice could help improve the common age-related problem of cholesterol accumulation in the eyes, which often leads to inflammation, macular degeneration, and vision loss. Finding that an increase in this protein helped eye cells sweep away this dangerous cholesterol and improve retinal function. Pretty cool. And other animal studies have suggested similar benefits, displaying that the overexpression of ApoM can improve insulin sensitivity, leading to decreased fasting blood glucose and improved glucose tolerance, indicating a potential role in managing and maybe even preventing type 2 diabetes. Oh, and remember how I mentioned HDL's reverse cholesterol transport benefits before? That also happens to be regulated by ApoM, as it facilitates the formation of pre-beta HDL, a special type of HDL which plays a star role in removing excess cholesterol from cells, like blood vessels, essentially making HDL and ApoM dependent on each other to elicit the full spectrum of benefits that this good cholesterol, which actually isn't cholesterol, has to offer, and making the notion of increasing HDL and as a byproduct ApoM intriguing to say the least. Here are a few things to consider that may help you get there. Reminding you, first of course, that a portion of HDL production is genetic. So mileage does vary person to person. And also, unlike its less optimal cousin, ApoB, which is a protein signature for atherogenic lipoproteins, mainly LDL, there is no standard commercial way to measure ApoM, nor are there any reference ranges. But since 90 to 95% of ApoM reside on HDL, measuring that is a pretty good assay, and standard on basically every lipid panel. So it's a good place to start. With that, some of the main strategies which have been observed through various types of research to increase the expression of ApoM, ironically also typically increase circulating HDL and decrease LDL. Who would have thunk? First, starting with things not to do, like excess smoking, drinking, and consumption of ultra-processed foods. Yep, all no-nos. Mainly because they drive your metabolic health to fall straight off the wagon, as research suggests that hyperinsulinemia, or chronically high insulin levels, and the often accompanied obesity can reduce ApoM. Thus, focusing your attention on interventions which help manage blood sugar, assist with maintaining a healthy weight, reduce inflammation, and keep your cellular self operating efficiently is a good plan to keep HDL and ApoM pumping through your veins. And some of the best ways to do just that include regular badonkadonking, aka exercise, which has been observed to have a direct correlation with HDL levels, high quality circadian aligned sleep, real food, in particular ones loaded with healthy fats like those found in wild meat, fish, along with your nuts and seeds, as well as more fiber, which support lipid function, and less stress, which is the silent longevity killer that can also suppress HDL production. And listen, you're going to be flying blind unless you go out and proactively get this stuff measured. So make it a priority to get the standard lipid panel, but also ones that ideally measure ApoB and Lp(a) at least once a year. The optimal targets for both males and females is above 60 milligrams per deciliter of HDL. But it's also important to know that these measurements aren't perfect, as just having high HDL does not guarantee protection if those HDL particles are not functioning properly. For example, factors like chronic inflammation, metabolic syndrome, and uncontrolled diabetes can lead to dysfunctional HDL even with seemingly adequate levels. So doubling down on living a truly healthy lifestyle which puts your cellular self in a position to thrive is the answer to not only the HDL equation, but the one of driving efficiency throughout all other areas of your biology, thus finally allowing you to feel how you're capable of feeling. So now you know, or I guess I should say, we know the true story of why HDL gets all the clout. I'd love to hear what your favorite markers are when it comes to measuring cardiovascular health and how you optimize for them. So if you'd be so kind, drop that knowledge in the comments below, and let's share that longevity wealth. Just don't let that clout get to your head. Unless, of course, it's traveling on some high-density lipoproteins.